Women of Reddit, what do you think would be the worst thing about being a man? Feeling uncomfortable or shamed for showing your emotions. It's a sad truth, but since the dawn of time, men have been encouraged to live up to the expectations of having to be tough or being a rock for the family. As a woman, I think we feel more comfortable crying and expressing our sadness. Men get sad too, and it's about time they feel free to express it as easily as women do. Coworker, how are you? Me good, you? Translation: I felt terrible. Only got a couple hours sleep cause of the constant panicking my alarm wouldn't start. I feel like I'm constantly hitting a brick wall. Can barely afford to eat. I've got bills piling up I can barely keep on top of, and I'd much rather be anywhere but having this conversation, but because it's considered rude for me to not care, I'll ask how you are. Sorry, had to vent. Having to be the person physically in charge in a threatening situation. Like always being with a man when walking home from a party in a sketchy area at night. Yes, there is safety in numbers, but the dude is expected to be protective regardless of level of awareness, self-defensive, or drunkenness. That's a lot of pressure. Oh, you got stuck taking care of the kids today, huh? Giving mom a day off, finally? Dads know what I'm talking about. Edit: well, that blew up. Glad to see I'm not crazy. It's interesting to see the scattered few people say people don't actually talk like that. And then see hundreds of other folks confirm that, yeah, people do say that shit. Not being able to take care of children without getting dirty looks. This is true. I'm a dad of 3 and I work from home, so I pick up the kids after school. It is hard for my kids to get their friends' parents to let them come over and play if my wife isn't home too. Pretty disappointing for me to see my kids wonder what is going on. They don't get it. If it was just my wife home with the kids, they wouldn't bat an eye. I would not be allowed a moment of weakness. Bad day? You can't cry unless your mother just died. Hurt yourself? Suck it up and go to the hospital. Feeling self-conscious about your body? Nobody cares. Feeling ill? Simone has a man cold. I found out my mom was dying from cancer 2 weeks before she did. She kept it from me. I was still sad 2 weeks later, and my ex-wife told me I needed to stop sanctifying her because we always had problems and argued often, and I kept thinking about the happy times I had with her. People expecting that I could fight. Man, my ex-girlfriend chatting shit to some scary guy on a train who was acting out, and then just turning to me with, "Are you going to let him speak to me like that?" Look on her face when she pissed him off enough. Dude would have fucked me up if I wasn't so good at being diplomatic. I cannot fathom how a guy sits down to poop and their junk is just chilling inside the toilet? Do you lift them and rest them on the toilet seat? I have no idea how dudes do it. Do you get backsplash on your ballsack? I ask these questions to my boyfriend. I'm convinced he thinks I'm a lunatic, but I just think balls would be incredibly inconvenient. Being expected to be more effective at physical labor, being expected to do more dangerous work, receiving less empathy when struggling with emotional issues. Being arrested for defending myself against an abusive partner. Honestly, probably people just assuming that y'all do all of the gross shit that no one else wants to do. Fixing up the car? Unclogging the toilet? Cleaning out the spider webs in the attic? Scrubbing the mildew out of the bathtub? Guys are just expected to do it all without complaint because that's the manly thing to do. As a woman, I find it pretty unfair. Alongside that are hiding a boner, people assuming that you can't have mental illnesses/disorders, not being allowed to cry/show emotions/be insecure about your body. All of it is really unfair. I'm sorry guys. Probably the stigma. I've seen a single father get shouted at for being with his kid when at a park for trying to kidnap children. The dude wanted to make his son happy, not molest him FFS. No one would bat an eye if you said you were sexual assaulted or harassed. See, that two people didn't understand what I meant, so to be more specific. If you were a male, and you were a victim of sexual harassment, or you were a victim of sexual assault and you went to go tell someone what happened to you, chances are that you will be ignored because society stereotypes think you're just lying and all males like being touched. Which is horseshit. With all the news articles I see about women being raped, I asked myself, what about the males? Sexual assault doesn't have a gender, it should be taken seriously for both genders. Imagine pretty much being invisible. You get your self-worth from how well you perform at work. Perform good and you're okay day to day. Start performing bad and you want to kill yourself because your only interaction with people now is negative. Nobody cares about you, nobody messages you, and when someone calls they want something from you. Now I don't mind helping, but damn, call me up for a beer or some camping too sometime. The hardest part is when it only is family. Your friends are gone. So you always answer for family because it's what you do. But it's always, hey man, how was your Memorial Day, if even asked? Hey, Kylie is moving this weekend to college and we'd like to try and get it done in one shot. Are you busy Saturday? Oh, you work? Oh well, okay, are you free Sunday? Cool, well can you come Sunday then? We'd love to see you. We miss you so much. You never come out and see us. And you agree because you don't go see them, because they all get together on Saturdays while you work. So now you feel bad for working and you now lose your day off from being bossed around and unpaid by people who always invite you to shit that happens on Saturday, then make you feel bad about it, so now you're the asshole. While all of this happens, while you're carrying the 1,200-pound Bowflex that hasn't been used in the family for 5 years up 5 flights of stairs. None of these people wished you happy birthday last year. Probably being forced to never, well, feel. There are so many people who make fun of guys for having feelings or even showing them. I would never be able to deal with it, and my heart broke the day my boyfriend told me his exes used to verbally abuse him for crying in front of them. I would think it would be being expected to do all the heavy lifting. To me, as a 64-year-old woman, I do my best to move things on my own. If I must ask for help, I make sure my helpers are well compensated with cold tasty beverages and snacks/food. Just because you're a male doesn't mean it's your legacy to be a physical workhorse. Lifting heavy things makes me feel like I matter to people, which is actually a welcome improvement on the status quo. Hands down, always being the villain. A colleague of mine was a bit on the heavier side, but decided to get into shape and started jogging. So he jogs around his block daily until his smartwatch tells him his quota for the day is full. That day he was a bit late but went for a jog when the sun was setting. Not many people out there, but as he was on his way, some girls saw him jogging their way, got scared and called the cops on him for obviously trying to chase them to rape them or something. Now, the guy didn't know about the call, he just sees 2 girls seeing him coming, turning around and running away, and he's like, what the fuck? Until the cops come for him. You know, for the biggest offense in the whole human history, trying to get fit. I felt really bad for him. Being abused in public by a woman and having people laugh instead of intervening to help you. Also the whole to be a man you have to act a certain way. Brutal. Oh, this just happened to me a few weekends ago. Getting hit in public and having no option but to try to escape the situation is no fun. Having an even harsher reaction when I'd go against gender roles. I mean, as a woman, there's backlash sometimes, but there's a whole movement very publicized that tells me that I can do whatever I want, and fuck the naysayer. I don't feel a man that would want to do something for girls or for women as that much support. Being called creepy if I don't look the best or if I try to get a girl. My sister summed this up perfectly when I asked her if it's creepy for a guy to hit on her at the gym. Depends on how hot he is. The constant pressure in society that the man has to pay for meals, drinks, etc. I feel like it all would add up really quickly. Being a father of a daughter or even babysitting. The complete mistrust that people give them is astonishing. If she starts throwing a tantrum in public, people always assume the worst. I would want my daughter to give my husband hugs and love him the same as she would love me in public, but people just view it differently. Emotional unavailability of others. As a woman, I definitely face a lot of hardships that men don't have to deal with. But when I'm at my point of breaking, sobbing and inconsolable, I know I can message one of my friends, usually one of the girls, and cry and bitch to them about it, and they will listen to me and really connect with me. They will tell me how shitty the person who did that is, how difficult it must be to deal with, how strong I am for persevering in the face of adversity. On the other hand, I've spent my life trying to be a non-judgmental source of venting for my male friends, and I've found that basically everyone who I'm like that with ends up either thinking I'm into them romantically, or expressing how grateful they are for something they get so little of. Guys are told to just suck it up and push their emotions down, and I think it is harmful to all of us. My brother was allowed to do a lot of things I wasn't, like explore the train tunnels and go hunting. I once envied that, but now I see it differently. Men aren't protected. From abuse of women, from sexual assault, from dangerous jobs, from military service, from having custody of children taken from them, etc. Most women think there's nothing wrong with being abusive and cruel with men. It's so upsetting watching women treat men like absolute shit. To top it off, men are expected to still act like a gentleman, and also they're not allowed to feel vulnerable, or to feel sad, angry because some lady was just a little sassy when in reality she was being an abusive piece of shit. I'd be afraid to be a male teacher. How easy would it be to give a girl student a grade, a failing grade they deserve, or just pissing them off any kind of way, but it's a crazy one who ends up accusing you of something awful. While that's specific, it's a general fear. Just the accusation itself will cost you your career. Not having your emotions taken seriously, then lashing out because of it, and then seen as violent because you just want to be understood. I had that with abusive parents, but normally people don't treat me that way because I'm a woman. I can't imagine what an entire life of not having your feelings acknowledged in a healthy way feels like. Suck it up and be a man.